Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ruby Summer Rose Court. To recap where we left off last time, we went through the day trying to reconnect with our court members, but unfortunately, a lot of them are very skeptical of us because of how frightened they were of us when we were possessed by Crescent Rose during the Alpha Grim invasion. Only purists seemed to really approach us. Same thing with John, so we only had two court members kind of still stay on our side. But we ended the episode with us learning that the Cataphones are trying to hold a ball in Beacon, and Glinda informing us that we have to choose a dance partner for this fancy occasion, and we chose Penny, of course. But yeah, let's dive right back in. There's no time to mourn the losses we sustained during the night when Crescent took over my body. A steady supply of people and trade flows between Mishglas, Hoping, and our plane, Vale. If it weren't for their help, I'm sure the attack on the city would have been much worse. I avoid the library most days. It was where I could always find Blake, haunting the spaces between the shelves like a ghost, or curled up in a corner surrounded by books. She's been gone for almost a month now. Okay. So it's been a month since we woke up. Wow. Surely she at least tried to contact Master Oobleck? But she had made it clear in her letter she meant to be left alone. I didn't want to disrespect that by prying. So I avoid the library. But today... Oh, it's John. Jean walks at my side as I lead him through the library doors. You're really sure it'll be in here? Not 100% no. But it's as good as a place to start as any. He looks uncertain but doesn't protest any longer as we approach the desks. Hello, Master Oobleck? Are you here? Just a moment, Ruby, I'll be right there. There's a rush of wind a few seconds later, blowing in my face so hard my eyes water. Oh god. Your Majesty, so good to see you. Do you need something? It's not for me exactly. My Queen's Guard was curious about their history. Well, we have a number of tomes about that very subject. What specifically did you want to know? Stuff about my hometown. Domremy? If you have anything, that would be great. Oobleck brings the books to me. Just before putting it into my hands, he hesitates. You're a good girl, Ruby. Then he pats the top of my head like he always does, leaving me alone in a burst of wind. That was a little weird. Then again, a lot of people have been treating me weirdly lately. Shaking my head, I sit down at my usual spot and open the book. The pages fall immediately open to the centerfold. There's an envelope lodged between the pages. This is Blake's handwriting. Another letter? Forgetting the book at once, I take the letter and rip it open. But there's only a single line of text. Ruby, on the last Friday of the next month, please go to where we first met, alone. On the last Friday of the next month, please go to where we met first, alone. Short and cryptic. Well, that's typical. Setting the letter down, I excuse myself to go back to my room. The last Friday. That's tomorrow. Oobleck sure took his time giving me this letter. To her credit, Crescent waits until the day of my meeting to pester me about it. So, are you going to see her? Maybe. It could be a setup for an assassination attempt. Despite myself, her concern makes me laugh. I slide the letter in between the books on my shelf, chuckling softly. If Blake wanted to kill me, I think she would have done it by now. You know she's dangerous. All of my friends are dangerous. There's a distinct grumbly feeling, like gravel rattling around deep in the center of my stomach. Sometimes I wonder why I even bother with you. This line sounds familiar. It sounds really familiar. I think it was spoken by Weiss, maybe? Not entirely sure. I sit down on the edge of my bed with a sigh. Because we're stuck together? It appears we are. She's quiet after that, and I take it as tacit approval. Getting dressed in my desert garb, I use Crescent's power to help me float down the side of a window and head out into the city. Some city background ambiance. Without my crown and armor, most people don't seem to recognize me, and my hood covers the distinct red hair. But when I reach the menagerie gates, I wonder exactly how I'm supposed to get inside without an escort when I feel a warm presence right at my back. Blake. I breathe in relief at the familiar shadow, turning around to look up at her. She's smiling faintly, but I can see her tail switch from side to side, betraying her nerves. Hi. I want to say I missed you, but that might push us in the wrong direction, so what did you call me out here for? But then again, that might seem too cold. That might push her away. I missed you. Let's go with that. Oh no, definitely romantic. I missed you a lot. Blake's smile falters, her tail whipping harder at my words. Sorry, didn't mean to blurt that out. It's okay. I know I didn't give much warning before I left. Thanks for not trying to follow me. I won't lie, I was tempted. But I knew that would just make you run further away. Blake visibly struggles between guilt and relief. Listen, I brought you here to introduce you to someone. After a quick word with the guards, Blake opens the menagerie gates for us. Who are we meeting? Is it another Faunus? It looks a little different from when I first came. True, the surroundings are a little more ramshackle than the rest of the city, but I'm not as anxious as when I came with Glinda. Did it change? Or did I? It's still fairly early in the morning, and when Blake catches me yawning, she gives me a small smile. Late night? My cheeks warm up. Yeah, sorry. You know it's hard for me to sleep. It's okay, just try to stay awake for lecture, alright? Huh? Taking my hand, she leads me further into the menagerie. Other Faunus are awake as well, the overall sense of it much like how it is during market days in the Xiaolong camp. We approach what looks like an abandoned temple, an empty bell tower just barely rising above the other houses. When Blake leads me inside a large, unmarked building, I'm confronted with 30 sets of strangely colored eyes, looking like a row of gemstones. It's a school. At the front of the room, a rabid Faunus fixes me with an unreadable stare. Is it Velvet? Blake waves with her free hand, ears twitching forward the way they do when she's excited or happy. It is Velvet. Hi, Velvet. I brought a guest. The teacher's large brown eyes don't move from me, and I see her lips twitch. A frown? Well, we always like having guests, don't we, kids? Grinning at the kids, I give them a wave. A few of them wave back. Oh, that's cute. Blake's hand tightens around mine, a quick squeeze to get my attention. She leads us to the back of the room, and we take up some empty seats. So is this where Blake has been, taking care of kids? I fold my hands on the desk, looking at the blank slate left there. Velvet leads the class through rune lessons as well as basic spelling and math. She separates the group by age, effortlessly leading simultaneous lessons as she flits from section to section. At one point, Velvet brushes past us. Just under her breath, I hear her mutter darkly. I'm trusting you, Blake. I blink a few times. Velvet has already moved on, urging the kids outside for another group lesson. Blake and I are left alone in the empty classroom, acting as though Velvet hadn't just sounded ready to murder me. The calm silence is suddenly awkward. So I start doodling, drawing chalk lines on the slate. Velvet seems really nice. Blake slides back into her seat, lounging more comfortably. Classes are 3 days a week. Today, once a month, she holds a sleepover for the kids to give their parents a night off. Oh wow, that's nice. and to make sure they have dinner. Sad. She's also a seamstress. After drumming my fingers on the desk, I wipe my slate clean. It's too warm in here, so I take off my hood and turn towards Blake. Blake, why did you... She interrupts me. Would you like to stay? Oh, romantic moment. Just tonight. I promised Velvet I'd help watch the kids so she can get some sleep too. When she leans closer, I can see her gold eyes are wide, bright, intense. Glinda and Yang will panic if they can't find me. So send a messenger telling them where you are. And if they come and try to drag me out? Well, at least that would mean Yang would have to talk to me again. As long as Velvet doesn't mind. I mean, are you sure you want me watching the kids? I let my voice drop teasingly. I'm practically a kid myself, as you like to remind me. Blake's teeth flash, a grin taking over her face. The rest of the day passes quickly. Once Velvet resigns herself to the fact that I'm not going to leave or make a nuisance of myself, she ropes me into being her assistant. After classes are over, I keep the kids entertained with Blake, helping them construct little puppets like the ones from back home. Mine aren't half as good as the Xiaolongs, but I guess someone outside the tribes don't know the difference. Once night falls and the kids are all asleep, Blake takes me away again. Hold the fort down for a bit, Velvet. I'll be right back. Sure thing. We haven't seen a sprite of her yet, which is a bit surprising. We make sure to lock the doors behind us. So... The streets of the menagerie are pitch black, not a single lamp sparking out any open window. That was fun. I'm glad you thought so. We come to a bridge spanning from one half menagerie to the other. The river gurgles underneath, leading out a steel grate to the lakes outside the city. To my surprise, Blake doesn't cross it, but instead begins to scale down the steep slope, disappearing under the arc. Blake? She pops her head back out, gesturing for me to follow. Carefully, I do. When I reach the underside of the bridge, Blake is nowhere to be seen, till I spot her gold eyes glowing in the dark. She's squished inside a thin break in the stone, just wide enough for her to slide through if she walks sideways. Inside here, be careful. Squeezing past stones and gravel, I follow her, feeling more and more confused. Yeah, I still don't know what's going on. If this is like something plot related or just something to kind of like further their relationship. The narrow passage widens out shortly afterwards, leaving me in pitch black darkness. I can still hear the water streaming by, smell and feel the moisture in the air. Sorry, I forgot you can't see in the dark. Yeah, we can't. There's a spark of light, Blake striking flint against steel, and then she lights a torch, touching it from candle to candle until I see we're in a small room. There we go. I slip off my hood to get a better look at the place. There are shelves carved into the wall, coated in dust. Likewise, the bed is carved out of the earth itself, covered in reeds and a thick blanket. At my feet, a thin trickle of water flows out of the secret door we had just entered from. What is this place? Blake just watches me, arms crossed and an expression unreadable in the semi-darkness. Is this her room? I look over at the bed, realization dawning on me. This is your home? Blake's lip twitch in a nervous smile, the only concession she gives me. It's nice. I really like the view. Scoffing under her breath, Blake moves to light more candles until the room is cozily lit and just a little warmer than I'm comfortable with. There was a woman who took care of Adam and I. Her name was Fang. This is her house, not mine. What happened to her? She was murdered. Falling silent, I wait for more, but Blake is as tight-lipped as ever, though her tail is waving and twitching like mad. Why? Thank you? Why? Or I'm getting claustrophobic. That's not the thing to say right now. Why? I'm still so lost, looking around with no explanation in sight. Why are you telling me this? I just don't understand what's going on, or why you brought me here. You never speak about the past. Slowly, her hands link together with mine again. Oh boy. She takes a deep breath. I don't have any other secrets. This is the only one. I blink a few times, waiting, still confused. Standing this close to her, I can feel her body trembling. I don't know what else to give you. Give me? Oh no. Did I accidentally go down the Blake path? Oh no. Her throat bobs, jaw clenched and visibly flexing as she keeps her mouth stubbornly shut. Blake, you don't have to give me anything. I left. She shouts it so suddenly I take a step back, pulling my hand free. I left. Her shoulders slump, gaze falling to the floor. You let me into your inner circle, and when you needed me the most, I ran. Just like with Fang, I never know what to do when there's someone I... Oh boy. I feel a confession coming on. You're really going to make me say it, aren't you? You don't have to say anything less than 3. I really didn't mean to go down this Blake path, but... Oh no. Oh no. Talk to me, I'm your friend. Let's try with this one. Blake, I know things have been really crazy lately. I don't blame you for getting scared. I'm really scared too. But you don't ever have to be afraid to talk to me. I take her hand again. I'm your friend. I wanted to be your friend ever since we first met. I guess that's a strange thing to say. Not as strange as you might think. Blake licks her lips, taking a short breath to say something else. Then her ears twitch, expression freezing into one of pure horror. Blake? Shh. She presses a finger to my lips, still listening to something I can't hear. Then her grip tightens on my shoulders, a terrible sound escaping her lips. The kids! Come on! Dragging me back outside, she sprints into the direction of the schoolhouse. I follow as quickly as I can, struggling into my hood. Dread rises up in me, surely as smoke rises up on the skyline. A fire? We skid to a halt just outside the schoolhouse, a crowd already gathering in front of the roaring flames. No! I'm blinded by the need to act. I charge forward towards the doors, and only Blake's solid arms around me keep me from rushing inside the inferno. They're still in there, Blake. We have to do something. I know, but if you just charge right in, you'll make it worse. Helplessly, I look around us as the other faunas begin working together, frantically dumping buckets of water and sand from building sites to try and douse the flames. This isn't a normal fire. It's not spreading to any other buildings. Crescent? I'm so unused to hearing her outside my castle, I can hardly believe it at first. This was a calculated attack. I told you someone would try to kill you. Blake looks at me in alarm, and I'm too far gone to realize I'm speaking to my spirit out loud. Can you tell me how to help? Please, anything. You can take my body again if you want it. Just save them. I can't control you so far from the root of my power, but I can tell you what to do. Listen carefully. Trembling from head to toe, I do as Crescent says and try to calm myself. She gifts the information to me more than tells me, the knowledge flowing from wine to cup. You get all that? I think so. Pulling my hood free, I summon my semblance to its full strength. Wild rose petals rush around me in a visible show of power. All around me, people step back, and I doubt there's one among them who doesn't realize who I am. Fire needs air to breathe, as a human does, so smother it. Looking up, I see Velvet waving from the empty bell tower, the group of kids huddled around her. Velvet, hold on to something! The winds amplify my voice, carrying it to every ear around us, booming and resounding as the echoes in the mountains. Everybody else, stand back. I inhale deeply. On the exhale, a stream of wind bursts open the doors and windows of the school. Pushing down, I stamp out the worst of the flames. But a few remain, persistent. The struggle to put them out is a fiercer battle than it should be. The fires resist me, alive and rebellious. It's raw fire dust. Some maniac spread it all around the school. I try my hardest, but there's no suppressing it. It wants to burn. So instead, I redirect it, telling the fire to come to me. Liquid streams of red-hot flames eagerly obey my command, pouring out of the school and straight towards me. It's so much. Even Weiss doesn't use this much. The fires whirl around me, scorching the petals of my semblance in a tornado of fire. Where can it go? Where can it go? It wants to burn, so let it. It wants to run. Then let it. With a pained scream, I laboriously point away from me and the crowd, commanding the fire to escape. It bursts forward like horses from the gate, stampeding away in a trail of fire all the way down to the river. Collapsing on hands and knees, I pant as the line of fire stands tall. But it stays in a neat line, neat as if I'd drawn it with a pen. It doesn't spread. Ruby! A heavy force tackles into me. With no barrier of fire to stop her, Blake holds me as tight as she can. I can hear people shouting in excitement and relief as Velvet walks right out of the front doors with the children, all the children. Oh, thank God. I sit back, too tired to stand. What the hell was that? The note of concern has left Blake's voice, replaced by stern warning. Why is the fire just standing like that? She points to the dust fire, still happily erect and solid as a fence. Red dust. It'll burn out by tomorrow. It's the kind that's built to stay in one place. Weiss says they use it as a barricade when out in the wilds to keep out Grimm. I rub my eyes, which is a mistake since my hands are covered in soot. Blinking away tears, I listen to the sound of children crying. Someone wanted that school to burn down to the ground. When Glinda arrives, I expect her to be mad. What I don't expect is the blank, cold fury in her gaze as she stares at the line of fire. I explain the situation to her as best as I can, but I'm not sure she's really listening. Are you unharmed? You, Blake, the children? It's the only question she asks, and it's short, clipped. Hesitantly, I nod. It takes exactly 3 hours for Glinda to find the person responsible. Really? That quick? Exhausted, I rest in my throne as Blake paces in front of me. I recount what Glinda told me. Our storage of red dust suffered a robbery 3 nights before the attack. In anticipation of your arrival, I was right. An assassination. I shake my head. Crescent, no. I didn't even know I would be in that school until I was already there. How could someone plot to kill me in a Faunus schoolhouse? Blake stares at me without a word, her expression perfectly neutral. Sorry, Crescent is just wondering if this was an assassination attempt. It wasn't an attack on you, it was us. They knew the kids would be there that night. They took the time to learn our schedule. No one knew you would be there. Yeah, that's what I'm telling her. Oh, of course it's him. Look at her curiously, but Blake isn't focusing on me. She is turned towards the throne room entrance, fur standing on end. Is she talking about Roman? I'm about to ask her what's wrong when I hear footsteps approaching. I know who it is even before they enter the room. The smell of Torchwick's perfume precedes him, bringing a sour taste to my mouth. Well, just who I wanted to see, the Queen and her little pet. Roman, what are you doing here? Preventing a gross miscarriage of justice. Swinging his cane, he lets it drop onto the marble floors with a sharp rap. The man you're holding? He's one of mine. And he didn't set the fire. I'm sure you'll make a wonderful character witness, but the castle guard still needs to question him. You know, Kitty Cat, I don't think you're quite getting the message here. I said he didn't do it, ergo, you have the wrong man and you let my guy go. It's really rather simple. Even someone like you should be able to follow that. I snap at Roman, interrupting his personal feud with my friend. Aren't you the master of trade? How did you not report a whole shipment of stolen dust to me? My dear, if I inconvenienced you with every theft and accident that occurred in the line of business, I'd be at your door every morning. Things happen. Merchandise gets stolen. Dust is a weapon, a very powerful and dangerous weapon. And it should have crossed your mind that it might be used as a threat against me. This doesn't look good for you, Roman. But if your guy is really innocent, then you don't have anything to worry about. It is so cute that you really believe that. But let's be honest, his innocence doesn't really matter, so long as you animals have a human to blame. We have evidence. Please, evidence of your bias, maybe. Quiet. The winds carry my voice again, making it boom and crack in the halls of my throne room. Blake and Roman wince, covering their ears in pain, and a small flash of guilt runs through me. I lower my voice, struggling to control it. I was in that building, Roman. Exactly. That's attempted regicide. We can't just let him go. Roman looks at me, sea glass eyes, sharp and sly. Can't you? Is he serious? I stare hard at him. You weren't harmed. And I can't obey a ruler who'd frame a man I know is innocent. Why, I'd have no choice but to remove my support from the throne. Good luck holding back your rampaging hordes of Grimm with half your forces gone. You. I put my hand on her arm, holding her back. If Roman pulls support for the throne, we might not have enough troops to defend Beacon. But if I let this slide, Blake will never forgive me. You know, this might actually sound like a loyalty mission for Blake. Kind of like in Mass Effect, where you kind of like get to know a character more in depth than what the main story is encompassing. And then you really get to know them, and then there comes a point where you have to make a decision, where you make a decision to either gain their trust or drive it away. And I think that's this moment. You know, we know that Roman is corrupt and that there's something wrong with him. And we can't just do that to our court members, so we have to side with Blake. Crescent, are you willing to help me again with this? She doesn't answer for a moment, but when she does, I can feel her roiling in the back of my mind. With pleasure. Crescent feels raw, angry, betrayed that Roman would dare weaken the defenses around me. Or maybe she's finally picking up on how I feel for a change. I turn to face him, and out of the corner of my eye, I see the vines that crisscross the castle twitch and tremble, slowly pulling themselves from the stones. You're not fooling anyone, Roman. You don't let your people so much as sneeze without your permission. Your man is not going anywhere. He'll stand trial. If he's innocent, then he can walk free. You really think I'll leave it at that? You have no right! He doesn't even manage to finish the sentence. Vines with tips as sharp as sabers flick away from the walls, darting towards him before they stop, quivering barely an inch from the flesh of his neck. Now remind him who is heir and protector of this plane. Repeat after me. I listen to her, carefully relaying the threat. You were there the night I saved Beacon, Roman. You saw what I did to that Grimm on top of my castle. Don't think I won't do the same to you. Torchwick gives me one last nod, his eyes darting from me to the spear-tipped vines hovering around me. Finally, he swallows, his Adam's apple drawing dangerously close to the razor point. Over half the city's defenses belong to me. Do you really think? I don't want to hear another word out of your mouth. Roman's jaw clenches shut. You want to commit treason, Roman? Fine. Take your men and get out of my city. He looks almost like he's going to try and weasel out of it one more time, but then his eyes dart up at the rose thorns around us, a single bead of sweat rolling down his neck. Now! Roman steps back, turns on his heel, and marches for the door. As soon as he's out of sight, the vines withdraw themselves back into the stonework. Still, it takes a while for Crescent's power to fade, and I can hear my heart hammering in my ears. Wow, that was seriously intense. I can definitely see that if we sided with Roman, what sounds better on paper, we would have lost Blake forever. We just can't do that to her. Sighing, I turn to look at Blake. She's still standing there, her fists clenched, nails digging deep into her palms. Blake? Her eyes stared blankly after Torchwick, her jaw clenched and tight, her breath coming in short, sharp bursts. Slowly, trying my best to keep from startling her, I reach out and put my hand around Blake's. There isn't anything I can say or do that would make this better. Her pupils are still blown. She's not looking at me so much as through me, her focus a million miles away. I swallow and try to keep my voice steady. You've got soot on your face. She blinks a few times, then absently wipes her thumb across her cheek. Looking down at the dirt, she rubs it between her fingers, keeping quiet. Come on, you can use my bath. At first, I'm not even sure she hears me, then her jaw tenses as if she's fighting with something. Finally, she nods and lets me lead her by the hand back up the stairs. That is quite the suggestive sentence right there. She still hasn't said a word by the time I get her up to my room. We both reek of smoke and ash. When I glance in the mirror, I can see streaks of soot along my cheeks, staining my matted hair. Add that to my usual tired, sleep-deprived look, and it's not a pretty picture. Huh, great. The bath takes a while to fill. Pulling off the outer layers of my robes, I groan at how the fabric clings to me, stiff with sweat. Do you want to go first, Blake? Blake doesn't respond. Looking over at her curiosity to see if she heard me, I find her standing at the doorway, her arms crossed and her gaze pointed at the ground. Blake? When I draw closer to her, I see her quivering, tight and contained, like the last resonance of a bell struck long ago. Wow. That is quite the sentence right there. Tight and contained, like the last resonance of a bell struck long ago. That's some A+ writing right there. Are you okay? He wasn't afraid. Who? Torchwick. He didn't smell like fear. It never even crossed his mind that he wouldn't get away with it. The first tears begin to fall, drawing clean lines down her ash-streaked face. Blake, I'm sorry, Holding herself tighter, she trembles so hard that even her voice shakes. I can't do this. I can't take this anymore. If I wasn't there, if you weren't there. Her voice sharpens for an instant, and the full spectrum of her emotions come boiling out like a burst dam. Anger and guilt and shame and fear and agony. The tears just won't stop streaming down her face. But we were both there. It's going to be okay. I try to reach her, but she twitches away, bristling with pent-up pain. It's not. I'm forced to be grateful that the only human who cares is the only human who can change things. Furiously, she wipes away at her tears as they fall, dragging her palms down her face over and over. She cries like I've never seen anyone cry before. It looks like years' worth of everything unshed, but with nothing left to hold it back. But if you didn't, what would it take? Her breathing hitches. How many dead bodies is it going to take? I wait, feeling helpless in the face of all of her pain. I want to fix this so badly, but I know there's nothing I can do. Crescent, any advice? Don't ask me. I have no idea what you humans have done to your cousins in my absence. Cousins. I'm stunned, unsure of what to do or say, so I pull up a few more basins full of water for the tub, zipping away and returning quickly with one of my night robes. Blake tapers off by the time it takes for the water to heat up, her emotional outburst leaching away only to be replaced with dawning embarrassment. Here. I shove it into her hands, forcing her to grab it. You can go first. Toss your dirty stuff in that basket when you're done. But go. Go, go, go. Circling around her, I bump her with my hip, nudging her closer to the steaming water. Oh god, this... Ruby's face as she's like pushing Blake literally out of frame. That's really funny. But I... into the tub with you. It's a very great use of animation right there. Really helps the audience kind of visualize the scene even more. That's great. I pile into her hands the scrubs, all of the lotions, and the fancy bottles. When her hands are full, I grab her by the shoulders, hoisting myself up to kiss her forehead. Oh. Then I leave, closing the door behind me. I lean against it with a heavy sigh, one hand over my chest. You know, I really don't want to push this, considering that I'm going after Penny. But I think the second romance that I would pursue in this game is Ladybug, because the scenes are written very well. But I'm not entirely sure what I did to kind of push us in this direction. If it's romantic, if it's romance related and not so much main story driven. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm not sure if this is a loyalty mission, or if this is like a romance-induced side of the story that isn't unlockable unless you push for certain dialogue options with Blake. When Blake leaves the bathroom a while later, I'm sitting cross-legged on my desk, trying to keep from touching anything with my dirty hands. She has my rope cinched tightly around her, and her soaked ears are pressed firmly against the curve of her skull. I leap up to stand in front of her, glad to see she's no longer crying. Feel better? I do. Thank you for letting me use your bath, Ruby. I should probably head to my own room for the night. You can stay here if you like. I mean, Yang and I have sleepovers all the time. Oh, I'd like that, as long as it's all right with you. I don't want to be alone anymore. Flashing her a quick smile, I head into the bathroom to take my turn in the tub. When I exit, Blake is settled on top of my bed, a book in her lap. I run over and hop up, sitting next to her a respectful distance away. Sorry for losing my head back there, Ruby. She looks cool and composed again, red-rimmed eyes the only hint of her breakdown. It won't happen again. Okay. So I think these heart emojis are like indicating these are definitely romance pushing. So the game is essentially giving you a hint. Don't press this unless you 100% want to pursue a relationship with this character. And man, if my heart wasn't with Penny, I would press this option. I really would, because I really love Summer Rose's Court's interpretation of Blake, how she's drawn, and her interactions with Ruby. It's just really, really well done. But in another playthrough, perhaps. It's gonna be okay. Blake, you don't have to apologize for anything. I know that what almost happened was awful. I know everything that has already happened is even worse. Nothing I say will change that. Her ears flick, letting me know she's listening, though she keeps her eyes trained on the book. But I swear on my life, I'm going to protect you. You and everyone else my family let come to harm. Whatever power I have, I'm going to use it to set things right. I know you will. Her voice is quiet, but genuine, not a single hint of doubt or scorn. I lean over and bump her shoulder with mine. I've got your back. I always will. And you don't always have to be strong and pretend none of this gets to you. Adam, he once told me that being weak is a luxury. At the same time, not everyone is strong enough to run away from what's happening. I left them all behind, now I'm back, and everything is just as awful as when we left. I guess I just don't know what to think most days. Where is Adam right now? I know you write letters to him. Uh-oh. I don't know where he is. But he sees what we're doing here. He's trying to get the forest faunas to return to the city and help in the fight against the Grimm. He's teaching them how to fight. Her ears suddenly perk up. But, you might not want to tell Glinda that. Maybe just forget I said anything. I don't want to make a promise I can't keep. We don't have to talk about it. I pat the pillows. I'll take the chair. You can stay here for the rest of the night if you want. I'm not kicking you out of your bed. Blake, as your friend, I'm begging you to let me take care of you. Please. Oh, Ruby. Such a kind girl. Blake gives me a long, steady look. It's obvious that even this is difficult for her, that relying on anyone is hard for her, even me. Maybe especially me. Finally, she nods, sending a wave of relief washing over me. I'll stay, but I'm taking the chair. Your bed is too soft. Fine, I'll go get the blankets. I'm not sure when she finally falls asleep, or even if she does, or if she just lies there trying to forget the horrors of the day. But she rests at least, letting me watch over her, trusting me to keep her safe. Alright, and we are into the next day. Just because of how emotionally that last part was, I think this is a good place to take a break. So I don't know if Summer Rose Court has a thing with loyalty missions, but if I'm right and there are loyalty missions, I definitely feel like that segment with the burning schoolhouse was one. You know, we kind of spent some time alone, 100% with Blake. It was almost kind of like a date with her, and she opened up to us, telling us things that she hasn't told anyone else. You know, showed us an intimate side of her, you know, where she grew up and where she spends time to raise the next generation of Faunus, and, you know, and then we had to make a pivotal decision to side with her, you know, the morally just area of the spectrum, or to side with what makes sense on paper, which is beneficial to the kingdom as a whole, you know, for the greater good, quote unquote, but like, we know that option is wrong, and so we made a decision, and we have held on to the loyalty of Blake for now. And so, yeah, I mean, as romantic as that section was, and I fully 100% mean this, that part was written beautifully. And like I said before, you know, if I wasn't so in love with Penny and trying to push a Mechanical Rose run through in this game, I would definitely go for a Ladybug route, because what I'm seeing so far is just tremendous. It's beautiful. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next episode of Ruby Summer Rose Court. Until then.
You so fucking precious when you smile. Yeah. Girl, I lose myself up in those eyes.